Hello, everyone. So I want to start by saying just hello to everyone and introducing myself and what TKB football is going to be all about. So basically, I am going to be given, let's say, analysis of things to do with Sunderland, who is the team I support, and football in general. It could expand as we go on in terms of the things I do cover. But I'm going to first start talking about myself in Sunderland Football Club, which is generally what I'll be doing coverage about over the course of when this channel fully launches, as you'll see. So I'm first of all conscious not to make videos too long or too short, so I'm going to aim for around between 20 and 30 minutes for this video. I'm going to keep it closer to 20 if I can. But basically, I've got an agenda of what I just want to talk about Sunderland so far. And when it comes to introducing to who I am, what I'll basically say, so I'm 27 years old. I've had a season ticket for, I'd say, about 8 seasons at Sunderland. They're not all consecutive, but I'd say consecutively now, I think I'm probably on my sixth. So probably I've actually had about 10 or 11 season tickets when I come to think of it. I think my first will have been around 2009 when I probably first started getting into football, because when I was really young, I wasn't really into football that much, to be honest with you, until my dad first took us to a game, and then I caught the Sunderland spell, because I'm not from the city of Sunderland. So yes, it definitely was a spell that was cast on us, but one that I don't regret one bit. So I've watched, as you'd imagine, several hundred Sunderland games. I've watched more games of people who aren't Sunderland than I have Sunderland games anyway. So I am a hugely keen football fan, and I definitely wouldn't have put it past myself if to say that I've watched well above 500, but possibly close to 500 games through. So I like to think in general I know football quite well. I'm particularly interested in looking at it in a big picture, um, the way clubs are structured, um, analysing in detail players, playing styles, and the way different things go on in football, and trying to give a full view on what I think. Trying not to stick with just my opinion all the time, but trying to give a more full picture why certain decisions might have been made, and the logic which I can potentially see, as well as maybe the lack of logic behind some other decisions that are made. So first of all, I'll just talk about, so Sunderland changed massively. We all know the absolutely terrible time that leaded up to our relegation from the Premier League in 2017 or 2018, I think it was, and then the absolute shit show that pursued after that. Um, there was really, there was a few really quite, there was a few bits of positive hope along the way, but not until one move really happened did it start becoming more consistent, and that is obviously to all Sunderland fans the purchase of a majority stake in the club by our current owner, Kyril Louis-Dreyfus, who at the time it was a massive surprise, mainly given his age, and I think it's a testament to him and to all the people he's appointed since he's been in that role, just how impressive and actually unique and true to his own identity he's been with the decisions he's made at the club. So the key figure that he brought in, one of the key figures he brought in when he first bought the majority share in the club, was Christian Speakman. And it was very clear that Kyril Louis-Dreyfus, as a boyhood Marseille supporter, has brought a lot of European principles to our club on how clubs are financially sustained, how scouting networks are really important, and really trying to think of a futuristic business way in which it can make a team both what Sunderland is, have that unique fabric and identity of the togetherness and the team spirit, while also creating a smaller separation between first teams and youth teams, which is where you get on to what Christian Speakman noticed when he came into the club, which is that we had a complete lack of scout and scope and reach throughout our club, and that our academy and our first team was a complete separate entity. Whereas we're fast forward to now, where the vast majority of our regular under 21 players train most days with our first team. They are getting better exposure to better levels of football every day. They're learning from more experienced and more talented players, and they're also learning from the more higher level coaches, which you've got when you get closer to the first team a lot of the time. But also, obviously, what he did with the scouting network is he noticed, as I said, about the total lack of scouting facilities we had in place, and he started adopting the model where if you find gems in uninflated markets where you don't have to pay huge prices, it is much less of a financial risk on the club to lay out for one of them players, because if you go for a player of, let's say, an inflated market where you'd say would either be, let's say, the Italian, the Spanish, or the English league, or you go for English homegrown players or British homegrown players, then we all know that the market is highly inflated, especially for Premier League clubs who people know have so much lucrative funds to do things. So the thing is with buying the younger players, obviously, is that you could actually, for smaller fees, you can then invest in a larger number of them to start with. And the financial burden of buying 3, 4, there's an unlimited number future prospects early on in their careers before they've got real European recognition is an infinite less risk than even buying someone for an absolutely huge sum, even if they've been very consistent and relatively injury free, because it is simple that when you lay a large amount of money, the transfer has to work. And there's so many different reasons why that cannot happen. So the key is minimizing the risk at the start, but having a brilliant team who can identify the gems that do lie within that. Because for every player that ends up fulfilling what you think the potential could be, there is a lot more, quite simply, that fail. And that's just a fact. I mean, I'll use one thing and as an example. Would all assume that Liverpool Football Club would have one of the best academies in the country. But Trent Alexander-Arnold, when in his age group, when he came through the academy, is, I think, pretty much the only player who was playing in for the majority of people he was playing with throughout his years in the youth team. He was the only one that ever, let's say, signed a professional contract and then made his first team appearances for any Europeans, any top level European side, certainly for Liverpool. But so that is something he definitely instilled in the football club when he came in, Christian Speakman, but also the complete overhaul of the Academy of Light. And I'm a very forward-thinking person, and what he's doing by doing that is clearly providing us the best possible facilities and coaches so that players know when they come here they have every single thing they could possibly require to help them achieve that potential that they've got. They also know, because of our model, that if they do the work and they show the talent they've got, we can offer them the playing time. And this worked especially well when we weren't in the Premier League because, let's say, there's still a lot of pressure at a club like Sunderland, but without spending the money that was demanding, this team has to be winning the league this year, and that's whether we're in League One or the Championship, then it gave the players a platform to, yes, make mistakes, but also for us to sign players who weren't getting games at much bigger clubs, who were far too good technically for the league we were in, and who could slot into the team pretty quickly and pretty nicely, and overall would trust that we had the facilities and the size of our fan base and, as I said, quality of the facilities, where if they did the work and to reach forward in their potential, they could then either progress forward with us or we could make a huge sum of money on. They could have massively progressed their career and they could get a move to, let's say, let's admit it, bigger clubs at the time or more successful clubs from where we were. So obviously that's greatly attractive to them as well as it is for us. So the overhaul of the Academy Elite was no doubt a huge part of how those two key figures at the club decided that they wanted to move our team forward. And there was points of frustration we'll remember, with people's transfer policies throughout this. The one thing I always liked about it was that we never, ever, under these people, seemed to ever, let's say, overpay for a deal. And any money we did fork out on someone, if we did, which was very rare, it always proved to be a wise business decision for the club. And eventually, through the right appointment of coach, which we'll get on to next, is absolutely the reason why we managed to get promoted to the Premier League, and that everything in this football club within the space of a short summer changed. And that's where it goes to the appointment of Regis Le Bris. We all know, Sunderland fans will know anyway, the struggles were had after the sacking of Tony Mowbray, when Michael Beale came in to be manager, and then Mike Dodds was in interim charge for the rest of the season. Le Bris was a very necessary bit of this puzzle, because I will still admit that I don't think the level of investment we were putting into the club, it was quite time for us to achieve what we did in getting promotion from the Championship in that season. We weren't spending that level of money that even I thought was required at the time, and obviously partially I've been proved wrong. But the appointment of Regis Le Bris was the absolute key thing that changed everything. So Regis Le Bris is the ultimate pragmatist when it comes to games. He does have ideal ways and of the way he likes to play football, and clearly things he enjoys watching. But he knew straight away, and he came into this club and he involved the players in this, and the players told him that they wanted to get promoted to the Premier League. He embraced that rather than, let's say, being pessimistic or trying to play in a style of a team that would maybe traditionally try and have that goal, knowing that we might not actually be able to achieve it. He fully accepted the ambition of the playing squad we had, which is testament to the recruitment, that our players wanted that, and he tried to find a way of getting us promoted, and he executed it absolutely perfectly. There was so many games in that where you could tell we didn't have, let's say, the superior players if we tried to go toe to toe with teams all the time, but through team togetherness and endless patience is the key word I'd use with Regis Le Bris, a very impressive patience, we actually did end up managing to get over the line in the end. A lot of people will have saw the playoff games and will have saw the Wembley final and will have thought, what is this team going to do when they get to the Premier League? And I thought exactly the same. But you started to learn with Regis Le Bris over the course of the season that you couldn't write him off. He was very late at making substitutes a lot of the time in the Championship. He made very late calls on things, but he waited until teams had completely exhausted themselves trying to break us down because of our team spirit. And he knew that late in the game, through substitutions we could make or slight or planned moves, that we could cause a threat to other teams. And it wasn't just by playing Route 1. It was by scoring really good goals, but recognising the times when we should and when we shouldn't take those risks to end up winning us the points. And I've got to say, I think it was one of the... I've rarely been proved wrong by the same person so many times consecutively. And that is partially one of the things that makes me so interested in football, and that makes it so interesting how successful you can be if you think of things in a pragmatic way. And I think that is what Regis Le Bris does absolutely brilliantly. And obviously what followed that was the absolute summer transfer window of dreams, which no one expected, including myself, whether it comes to the signing of Granit Xhaka, the continuation of the massive amounts of investment we're putting in youth players, but also actually, yes, the price tags and the level of caliber that we moved up, where we immediately started behaving like a Premier League team in the way that we were recruiting players and spending way, way above. I mean, we were spending less than a lot of Championship clubs just a short year ago in that summer, but we were matching and exceeding what a lot of Premier League clubs were spending, which was a real sign of confidence, I think, from our owner that he really wanted to build something that was worth lasting here. And the signing of Granit Xhaka was the perfect piece of glue, which could have went wrong, which I think helped all of the other younger players that were coming in, which was sometimes lacked in the Championship, understand the ruthless standards and have that winning mentality that you need to succeed in the Premier League. And it was very clear from as early as the second game against Burnley, when Xhaka apparently berated the players a bit in the dressing room after the game, that this guy, because of his previous successes, believes he can win even when other people outside of that can't see why you should. And he demands a certain level of training performance and performance on the pitch from the players, which really motivate people to understand that even if you haven't got the elite ability now, or even if the team you have playing has got that elite ability, he's got that belief in himself and then other people about being able to reach new heights. And obviously we've achieved Europa League football, and next season is going to be one hell of a roller coaster, which is what I'm going to mainly talk about in the next video, which would be about important points for Le Bris to consider this summer if he wants to maintain, let's say, his basically his good Premier League form and try and be competitive in Europe, but also what the club probably need to do on their side to ensure that it's possible for him to do this. I mean, personally for me, when I look towards next season, what I'm looking for is just, I couldn't complain if we had another year of Premier League solidity, whether we finished, let's say, in European places or not. If we comfortably managed to avoid a relegation battle and we made it out of the group stages in Europe, then even if it wouldn't be people's dream, that would be a good season still. Look at where we've just came from, and obviously the ambition's never ending. The sky is the limit. It always will be, and it's up to us, the fans, the players, the club, the scouting staff, people who will be coming in, to make that happen. And I'm generally so optimistic for what we can achieve. But there's going to be lots of curveballs thrown at us along the way, which there has been for forever throughout the history of football. So I think it's a hugely exciting time, and more than anything, us fans should cherish, and I think have cherished the season we've just had, but also cherish the season that we're about to have, the European trips and everything, because there is no guarantee that these things come around again in life, and we need to make the absolute most of them, and we need to give the players and the staff and the club our absolute full backing in trying to achieve that. So it was great to introduce myself to you all. I'll be back with another video as soon as I possibly can. I will, over the next few days, have a look at assembling that next video, and I've already got a couple more lined up where I'll start talking about certain aspects of our players. That's going into analysis about their key strengths, their key weaknesses, what I think there's importance out of the club long term. And after that, it'll become more about, current updates on what's currently going on at the club, whether that's income and transfers, or whether when the season starts, that's to do with actual games, which I'm highly looking forward to, because that's probably my preferred